Hello there, my name is Salim Javed, and in this series, which is called Understanding Cinema, we are talking about liberalization, how it affected the filmmaking process in India, how it led to globalization, then how it led to hybridization, glocalization, Bollywoodization, good things about globalization, not so good thing about globalization, foreign studios and Indian studios, high domestic ticket price, lackluster content, risky business, why it is called risky business, and why there is a less number of success which is happening in Indian film industry. We talked about that how in year 2001 it was accorded as industry status, and how in year 2002 FDI, which was 100% allowed in production, distribution and exhibition of the film. We also talked about India is one of the major market Hollywood has never been able to figure out how to crack, and how things are working. So now we were talking about that how after globalization and corporatization, a lot of foreign production houses entered in India because they had 100% FDI in different parts of the filmmaking. But as they arrived, our studios, our production houses, not studios, our production houses started upgrading, and they started talking about break-even point. Now, what is a break-even point? Now, this is very interesting to understand that a break-even point is something that, suppose I have invested X amount of money in a film. Now, this X amount of money is also debatable because you do not know how exactly we have reached this X amount of money. But if I am able to secure, and the film will be releasing because it has got X amount of money. Now, if I can secure 20% less of the total X amount, or 30% less of the total X amount, or maybe exactly the X amount before the release of the film. Obviously, without release of the film, how can I secure X minus X which has got 30% less, or X which is like 20% less amount before releasing the film? Now, this is what actually corporatization and globalization has given to all the film industries in the world. They have given formulas to earn even before the release of the film. Now, so when the release of the film is there, when the film is releasing and it becomes a hit, all right, that's absolutely a good profit. If a film is released and if it has not earned the way it was expected, even hardly 10 to 15 or 20% money is lost. So if you are a regular production house and you release a number of films on a yearly basis, and some of your films do not work and some of the films work tremendously, in account books you have a good year. Now, there is a research which has basically studied a lot of films over a decade, and the hypothesis says that the more globalized the content of a Hindi film, higher the level of depicted violence, sexuality, crime and vice. And the more localized the content of a Hindi film, higher the level of romance depicted. Now, this is something that glocalized and what do we call hybridization. They are very close terms, and we will see that how globalization and how glocalization and hybridization has given some of the wonderful films to us. Now, like if you look at this slide, which is about hybridization, glocalization, and in bracket it is a cross category of Indian film. Now, this is something that many of us we sometimes blame these films. This is what they want us to see. Like Salam Bombay is a story which is there in Bombay, and the way Bombay is being shown, a lot of people can say, okay, this is what they want, this is how they want to see us, not beyond this. Now, this category, which is called hybridization or globalization, may have its share of criticism, but sometimes they offer a very different perspective of the reality as we know it. But here, look at this. We have been producing, we have been collaborating. So it is not that only Indian diaspora. So when we talk about only 90s, then we talk about Indian diaspora, or when we talk about corporatization or globalization, then only we talk about a certain kind of film. No, that is not the case. It has been happening. But when we talk about 90s and we talk about liberalization, when we talk about 2000 and we talk about globalization, we happen to see more examples. But it does not mean that earlier there were no examples of it. I mean, these are some of the examples, and hardly like how many I have collected for a few years. Now, Salam Bombay, which was directed by Meera Nair, I mean, if you happen to see this film, I'm sure that it will be food for thought. Then you have Mississippi Masala, which was released in 1991, which is again directed by Meera Nair. Then you have Bandit Queen, year 1994. This after making Mr. India, someone makes Bandit Queen, you can understand the range that he has. And later on in the year 1999, he made Elizabeth. And if you look at Mr. India, then you look at Bandit Queen, and then you look at Elizabeth, you will not believe that these three films are made by the same person. So that is the range Shekhar Kapur has. Then obviously in the year 1996, it's a banned film which was banned in India, Kama Sutra, which was again made by Meera Nair. And this film that I'm going to talk about, My Son, the Fanatic, which was made by Udyan Prasad. I did not know about this film, to be very honest, but when I saw this film, then I realized, oh my God, how this film is made 30 years back or 25 years back. This is a story that I see on a daily basis. These are the stories which are beyond, I may say, someone can excuse me for that these are the stories which are beyond time. When you look at East is East, you don't believe that films like these can be made. I mean, this was made in the year 1999. Then you have the sequel of it is West also. Both these films are fantastic. Then you have Earth, which was made by Deepa Mehta. You have Monsoon Wedding, and everyone knows that song, Rabba Rabba Ki Karda. And Monsoon Wedding, which was 2001, Meera Nair. It's a film which is, there is a family and everything, and, people are talking, there is a wedding, people are coming, they are talking, and there are other stories which are merging in that wedding scene. You see a slice of life. These are not, these are the films which are not about some king or queen. These are the films which are about normal people. Like East is East again is catering to diaspora. My Son, the Fanatic is diaspora. Mississippi Masala is that. Salam Bombay is not. Then you have Monsoon Wedding, which is in 2001. Then you have Mystic Measure, which is V.S. Naipaul's novel of the same name, Smile Merchant. If you have not seen films of Smile Merchant, which is Merchant Ivory, trust me, we are missing on something. They have produced some of the best films. I mean, there can be an entire episode on Smile Merchant or The Merchant Ivory. And then you have American Desi by Piyush. Then you have The Warrior by Asif Kapadia. And there is a very interesting fact about this film, Asif Kapadia and The Warrior. Irfan Khan is in this film. And he was leaving acting, and he was trying for a long time and things were not working for him. And then Asif Kapadia, which was a fresh graduate from, I think, London School, and then he approached him. And after this film, so Irfan Khan, if you believe that he is a good actor, this film actually saved him, called The Warrior. If he has not done this film, The Warrior, he would not. He rather would have left industry for that matter. So same story is that Amitabh Bachchan was called for Zanjeer and things like that. So Warrior is for Irfan Khan. Then you have wonderful like Bend It Like Beckham, The Guru, Anita and Me by Metin Hussain. I mean, there can be a lot of examples. So it is. I like when we talk about a certain age, we always say, okay, from this date this starts. No, it never happens in real life. If something is happening from this date, now it is like it will happen more, but it is not the case that nothing was happening before this. So when we talk about globalization, corporatization, we are talking about, streamlining Indian diaspora and other themes. I mean, there are a lot of films, we talk, like suppose if I say diaspora, we can find Indian diaspora in 1960s. If you say action film, science fiction or something like that, trust me, we can find that even before pre-independence. It is how much we know about our films, that's what matters. I always say this, like a lot of my students complain, sir, there are no good Hindi films, there are no good Indian films. I say, how many films you have seen? How many films you have seen that you say that there are no good Hindi films or Indian films? There is one film which is like creating wonders. If how many of you have seen Jallikattu? In the last film, in the last video I talked about Chela show. How many of us have seen it? We only see popular things, and then we say, okay, we are not able to get something, something very entertaining or things like that. What is our definition of entertainment? That's what is very important. Now, this is something very interesting. Like we talk about Indian film industry, and some people call it Bollywood. There is a lobby who does not like it to be called Bollywood, and they take it as a pejorative term. Now this is cake. Now this is cherry on the cake. So it is not Bollywood, rather the Bollywoodization of Bollywood. Now this is like double layer. Now when we talk about Bollywoodization of Bollywood, what basically we are talking about, there are three phases. Okay, so like suppose if you see Jallikattu, for that matter, like Jallikattu is a wonderful film, and now there is a similar things happening. There are a lot of other things also. Now if you see Jallikattu, you will say it's a wonderful film, it's a wonderful Indian film, but the image of Bollywood that you have in your mind, it does not fit there. So there is an image, there is a construction called Bollywood, or there is so Bollywood becomes an identity, which is a nation, Bombay film industry, Bombay pejorative term, Bollywood and things like that, whatever calculation we have. But even it is like saying that more Indian than Indian. So Bollywoodization of Bollywood. So how it all started? So as I said, there are three phases. In 1990, it emerged as a cultural industry. Now please understand, these are no more films, they are cultural product. Okay, तो शादी अगर होगी तो फिर वहाँ पे फिल्मी गानों पे डांस होगा. So it is no more about कि शादी है, it is more कि ये event है. So cultural, films suddenly started becoming cultural industry. So one of the reasons was Indian diaspora, and it was mixed with liberal economic policies. Then the second phase, marketing of Bollywood abroad. Now this is really important, because this will spoil, this marketing thing will spoil when we will talk about cinema from 2010 to 2020 in coming videos. How this marketing sometimes overshadow the content. Marketing of Bollywood abroad, it is like fine, it is beautiful, it is like acceptable here, because now we are discovering new ways. But imagine that one aspect becomes the whole. The danger of marketing, and how it has absorbed, how it has crippled the entire system. We'll talk about it in coming lectures. So marketing of Bollywood abroad, which is a good thing at this point of time, because embedding it as a commodity, as I said, cultural product, Indian cinema entered the world cinema phase as a center of power and influence software. We'll be talking about it when I'll talk about that when Devdas was shown in Cannes Film Festival, though it could not win Palme d'Or, but a lot of people talked about it, and they saw growing influence of Indian cinema. And there are a lot of other examples. Now, when you talk about corporatization, brand Bollywood is born. And this, again I said, as it was a cultural product, so it was not just films, it was beyond films. It about the charismatic visual excess brought in by the spectacle, choreography, costume, music. Bombay Dreams, the musical show. Look at the people were crazy. They were like tickets were in advance. Tickets were sold out. So it was not just films, Bollywood. It was beyond cinema. More things like a lot of, as I said, a lot of foreign restaurants started incorporating Bollywood theme. They started having Bollywood nights. What happened in Daos, I'll talk about it separately. How we started going out and celebrating our events in foreign land and all those things. And best part that it was accepted by the native people. So we were growing in our influence. So as I said, marketing. So we are not just sending our films, it's a cultural product which will establish our soft power abroad. This is what was happening when we talk about the Bollywoodization of Bollywood. Third phase, which is the danger. Bollywoodization started reshaping Indian culture and identity as per the ambition of Bollywood abroad. So now we were not behaving the way we want. We started making cinema, or we started behaving the way they like us to behave. So suddenly our stories were in New York. Suddenly our stories were in Amsterdam. Suddenly our stories were in UK. Oh, come on! If there is a need, move. Just to make it more fancy. That the Bollywood har gadi badal rahi hai dhoop zindagi, and you start stretching your hands, not head, sorry, your hands, and you're standing on some bridge. That can happen anywhere. That can happen anywhere. So now we were making cinema as they were expecting us to make. So that is called the Bollywoodization of Bollywood. Okay, Bollywood was like Bombay, where films are made, Hindi films are made, but in 90s it grew out of its construction, and it took a different shape altogether, and we became a slave of that identity. So like this, there is a wonderful scene. I wonder that is the Bollywoodization or something else. I remember there is one Shah Rukh Khan film where he comes. And there is a helicopter which comes. It's a big mansion. So the moment Shah Rukh Khan, puts his feet in the garden, mother, which is Jaya Bachchan, she turns out as if there is a sensation which has passed from there to here. And interestingly, the same scene is in Bahubali also. The moment when he comes and enters in the fort, and the moment his feet touches the ground, mother turns, oh, mera dharti ka lal aa gaya. All these constructions. So I'm not criticizing these two films. I'm saying that sometimes you become slaves of what you have constructed, and that is what Bollywoodization of Bollywood. And interestingly, I always say that there was liberalization, there was corporatization, globalization. What next? What next then? We started moving to small towns. Bareilly ki Barfi started making sense to us. This Shah Rukh Khan landing from a helicopter was making no sense to us anymore. So we started liking Stree. We liking Bheja Fry. We started liking Khosla Ka Ghosla, if you remember. We started liking A Wednesday. They are not like Hey Baby, or they are not like Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham. That's the name of the film, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham. That was the name of the film. No, so suddenly we started making. And after that, what is the next phase? We started making pure stories which are rooted in Indian culture, Indian narrative, Indian aspiration, which has nothing to do with this Bollywoodization or Bollywood per se. We started moving away. A system will run for a certain period of time, and it will evolve gradually. So if 80s was that we were making Tarzan and all that film, and then 90s we make Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge and Pardes, and in 2000 if we make 2000 to 2010 towards, if you remember, in 2008 this Gajni was there, and in 2009 I remember Three Idiots was there. and then Slumdog Millionaire was also around the corner. So the every decade has got a specific, I wanted to talk about how year-wise films were released, and how it how the change in films actually tells you the way we have been understanding these concepts. Like if you remember a film called Thus, the entire team is taken abroad, and there is where you can have the scope for fancy action. You have got stylized clothes, you have slightly more choreographed action sequence and things like that. So it is basically the effect and how money was moving in the process and everything. So uh, when we talk about like foreign where Indian diaspora and everything, so our major territories are USA, UK, Mauritius, Dubai, South Africa, Russia, Fiji, New Zealand, Australia, and now if you recently RRR is being released in Japan, so China and Japan is also in the queue. More than 70 countries see our films. Thank you very much. We'll discuss more about it in coming videos.